Hi everyone, this is our internal podcast episode that we thought we'd give a go for our 39th birthday, and most of you will know who this is, Claire, the founder and owner of Gemini, and I guess we're just going to have a bit of a chat about where you began, Gemini, your story, just everything Gemini.
Well, 1985, so I just decided that I wanted to have my own shop after working for other people in retail. And I'd been working in various towns for another retailer, and one of the stores that they had was based in Banbury, and I just really liked Banbury, so I resonated with it. It was a really busy little market town, and a little shop became available. It was just an old sort of Victorian building. It was previously a bakery, and it had got these beautiful wooden fixtures in there where they'd done all the shelving. So I went and I just thought, it just felt right. It was when people were using a lot of cane furniture, which has come, that whole 1970s thing is really prominent now. So, and we still actually have the cane mirror.
I remember,
So we do have that. It is in the back there, and I can't bring myself to we did have a sort out a few months ago, and I just thought, no, I can't get rid of it. It's like, I've got to keep it. We started off in Banbury, and I think as any independent retailer does, you feel success, so you think, I'll open another store. So that's what we did. We opened another store in Leamington, and that was in 1987. We didn't keep that store for very long because it was just when they were doing a development of a big shopping centre, and the town just became a building site. So we were only there for a couple of years. And then the shop in Stratford, that was basically the third shop, but I'd always been associated with that shop, and the previous retailer had that shop, and I took that shop over, and ran it really alongside my parents' shop, which they'd been selling their shoes in Strutters, which was the shoe shop that we had in Cooks Alley since 1982. So they'd been established for a few years, and we just complemented each other. So that's really where we started. Banbury first, Leamington second, Stratford third.
And when did you decide to go online? So obviously you were physical stores at the beginning. When did it?
Well, we kind of developed very quickly from 1 to 3, and then actually when I had my son in 1996, I had my daughter in 1985, I had my son in 1996, and I just felt like I couldn't cope with all of that. 3 shops and a child, so we'd already closed the Banbury shop, and I think we closed the Leamington shop, and then we closed the Banbury shop, and we just literally focused on the Stratford store, and so that then became the key store for us, and then we just kind of moved on from there. Belcourt was developed, so we were offered the store on Wood Street, so we moved into this 15 Wood Street, was our first location on Wood Street, and we moved into that in 2000. So it was quite a nice experience because I was given a nice big kind of handshake, so we were able to shop fit the whole shop and get it looking really nice, whereas previously it had been a bit man-made. I'd had my friend lie on a piece of plywood to make mannequins with, and I was very good with the drill to put a few shelves up, so it was great. So we had it proper shop fitted, had a fantastic firm of shop fitters that came and did it for us. And we operated on, because this shop had an upper floor, and I just thought, no, I'm going to turn the upper floor into another showroom. So we operated on 2 floors, and we just grew and grew and grew. It quickly developed. We were much busier than we were in the previous shop. We were on a street location, so that made a massive difference from that recognition of people driving past in their cars. And I made the most of the window, and we had boards made to go outside, and it was amazing the difference that just that made. And then we progressed into the double shop, so we expanded into the second shop in 2004, and that was great again. It was wherever I went, I could see people wearing our clothes. That was great. We'd go out in the evening, they'd either have our shoes on or they'd be wearing something. And I can remember going to a restaurant and saying to my husband, everybody that's sat along this bar has bought their clothes from Gemini. I used to spot the bags, when we came into town. It was, we used a foil on the bag, so if the sun was shining, it would really catch the light. So it was really It was really easy to spot them. I think then the success from there, I was working with a lovely lady called Leslie Reed, who is my management accountant and a friend, and a mentor actually. So I would say really in business, to have somebody like Leslie Reed was brilliant for me, to mentor me through that all of that change as well, because that was from going from almost running, like a one-man band in a store, so me plus two in each store, to actually coming to a bigger store and suddenly employing sort of 12 people. It was a big expansion and quite a difficult one, because if HR is a big part of business. You've got to keep everybody happy. And we sat and we talked about online. I can remember sitting around the dining room table with her and talking about it, and we talked about the different ways that we could do it. We used a very local firm initially to do our first website. Then I realised that it needed to be a much better website than that. I mean, they were great, but it wasn't going to work. We set our sights on running online as a business, so not to have it as a hook on to the store. This wasn't about serving your customers in store and selling a few items online on the side. This was about looking at the online side of the business almost as a separate store, because it had the ability to be the biggest store, which is ultimately what it's become. So we moved to our present provider, which is Vendor Town, and we've worked with them ever since. We're fully invested into the site, so we're always doing developments with them and just making it as user friendly as possible, giving the customers the best experience. We're kind of committed to all of those things. So that's really how we transitioned from store to store and website.
And then with that, or with the whole journey really, what were the biggest challenges you think?
The amount of work that you have to do. I think there's not a single independent retailer, female founded business, male founded business out there that I don't think would dispute the fact that you go from, if you had a mainstream job, when you work for yourself, you just work and everything rolls into work. Even when you're not working, you are at work. I find myself, I'm not a big spender for myself, but I love going into shops and researching. So I can spend ages looking in a shop. I'm looking at everything, is that a commercial style, is that something that we could do, or the way that they've set the product out in the store, the colours. Of course there's the sleepless nights, trying to fit it in with family, trying to fit it in with children. I suppose the children is probably the most difficult part of it, because say to everybody out there that's in a business and having small children, try and get the balance right, because you can't buy that time back. So yes, I have missed out. For the first 10 years of having the business, we didn't go on holiday. We did day trips, but I was beautifully pale. Which people say, oh, that's because my husband says it's because you never sat in the sun for 10 years that you're not as wrinkly as me. But so yeah, that's a big challenge, that that work-life balance challenge. And even now, I work 7 days a week. I don't work all day every day 7 days a week, but on my working days I'm quite often working up to 16 hours a day. I'll work late into the evening on things that I need to get done that I couldn't do because I was in the store or in the business. Or if I don't work late, I'll get up early and do a good few hours in the morning. So I can do an 8-hour shift and then come to work and spend like sort of mid-morning or lunchtime, and then spend the rest of the day here. But so it is all consuming, and I love it. I can't say that I don't love it, because I do. And what would I do if I didn't do it? I don't know, but I will say actually that I've decided that I could become a bit of a gardener, and that's a really strange thing for me to say, because I've never done my garden. I'm married to a farmer, so he just mows everything, and my parents have lived with us for a long time, and my mum's the gardener. So she's, busy with her little wheelbarrow and her secateurs out there. So I've just left them to it. But I definitely found myself looking at, these Instagram where they're doing these lovely bowls of flowers and put them on the table, and I'm thinking, yeah, I could do that, I could make that look pretty. We've all had the same challenges over the last 4 to 5 years. The COVID challenge, challenges of delivery delays, you know, how that impacts the business, because each thing that happens like that has an impact. It doesn't necessarily reflect, the impact doesn't necessarily reflect straight away. It can impact you 6 months further down the line. And I think the biggest thing that we've taken away from COVID and these Brexit delays is that the impact that it has on those, say on the delays of deliveries, say 6 weeks at the beginning of the season. So we've definitely had seasons where we should have received product in mid to end August, and we didn't actually receive it until October. You can't regain that trade, so you lose that revenue. So basically your whole budget has to be redone. And if it happens again, like it did in the spring, and then it happened again in the autumn, and then it happened again in the spring, that's a big knock-on effect. So that's a major challenge. So, you know, just juggling. We're just jugglers. That's what we are, just jugglers. And the other biggest challenge is HR, because I think with anybody that I know that manages a business, the people in the business are really, really important. So to manage HR in a way that you have to make sure that you're creating a great working environment. You have to manage personalities, and you have to manage the expectations. But we definitely work really hard to that, and you know, we've got a great team, and as you know, Annette is a massive asset. Anybody listening to this, she's my Annette. But she's a massive asset to me in terms of HR, because she's so grounded, and we kind of talk things through with her, and we've I think we're doing a good job. Well, I would like to think that we're doing a good job. Are we doing a good job?
Great job. Yeah. Great job.
My advice to anybody in business is don't place your orders in a showroom or at a show. Come away and think about it, because I know from historical buys, my overbuys or my biggest regrets is when I've got overexcited with a product in a showroom or at a show, placed an order, come back and saw, one, I've either spent too much money, or two, I've been to another appointment and seen things that I actually prefer. So I think that is like a little nugget of advice that I could hand out. The thing was, when I started working specifically with a brand to grow their brand, and to make that brand, to enable that brand to become a bigger brand for us, because we lost one of our biggest 3 brands. We lost, and that was a massive amount of units and revenue for us to lose. So we had to adapt and pivot, and I had to find ways of working with businesses to make sure that we still had a supply of goods. We didn't have the same amount of goods that we had previously, so that was a massive challenge, but it was a learning curve as well, and actually we got to quite like it. We got to quite like having slightly less stock, being as wide on product. It taught us to buy and to have product that's much deeper. So instead of selling one of something, you know, over a period of time, sell 40 of it or 50 of it, as opposed to buying something that you only buy 10 of, and then once the 10's gone, you've got to find something new, because newness is your biggest challenge. I actually think with fashion, it's exciting the customer.
Especially now with more and more fast fashion, and obviously we're nowhere near that. No. So it's hard to stay on par in ways.
Yeah, and newness is just reignites your core. So if you have just core, and we've experienced that, because I got very nervous and went very safe, and so I was buying deeply into core, but without the newness, the core slows down. Yeah. So another little nugget there. Yeah. Keep your core buoyant by adding in those little bits of newness, and I think and newness sometimes can be the same product but in a different colour option. It doesn't have to be a completely new product. It just has to be new to the ones that you had last season. So we've got lines that we've been running for 4 or 5 years, and they're still our best sellers.
Yeah. And that kind of brings me on to Amazing Woman. I thought it would be good to touch on the brand and your involvement with them, and how you develop new products together. I think that would be really interesting.
Well, my relationship with Amazing Woman started literally as buying that brand into my business, and it goes back a long way. So as you all know, I started Gemini in 1985, and I would say it was probably in the late 80s, early 90s. I was buying from Amazing Woman because they had a showroom on the back of French Connection, and we were big on French Connection. In fact, French Connection was probably our biggest brand that we sold through the stores, and I used to just nip round the back and nip in to see Chris and see the jeans. And I've known Chris for a very, very long time, and we've had spells of having lots of product from him, and we had spells of not having anything for quite a long time. But when we got into COVID and I knew that we were going to be short of product to sell online, I just picked the phone up to him and just said, I know you've got lots of product and I've got a website and I need product. You know, can we get together and have a little chat and just see, you know, if there's anything that would be mutually beneficial? And that's how we started. So we just started off with the jeans, uploading all the jeans to the site, and then it was a lovely hot summer, wasn't it? So I went back to him and I said, I know that you used to do you know, other products, linen, knitwear. Came up with these 5 suitcases, and we went through, and one of the jumpers that I picked out was a jumper that's called Jodie, and I tried on all these 5 suitcases, and I said, right, if this was me, I'd get rid of all of those, but I'd keep this one. This is a winner. It's the winner, and it's been a bestseller ever since. But we then went into some linen. We got some linen sampled up really quickly, and from there we just worked. So I can't cope with anything being exactly as it is. I have to redesign it. Like, you know, ask my husband about any house. You know, I can't, if I go into a house, anything, I'd have to swap things back to front to back. I'm very OCD with things, meticulous, like the way that I want things to be. If I have to draw a straight line, I have to draw it with a ruler and space it out properly. I can't just draw a line on a piece of paper. So I was busy drawing things up and just snapshotting images of things and sending them through to our agent in Italy, Letitia, and just asking for samples to be made. They were sending samples back, and we were signing samples off really quickly, and that stock was turning around for us really quickly. So we were sort of 4 to 6 weeks, product was on the shelves, and so that summer was a long summer. So we did really, really well with the linens, and we had hits on colours, and it kind of reignited the whole amazing thing for Chris as well. We had real success with certain colours. We had this beautiful blue that came in the linen dress, and you know, we should have kept one of those pieces because it's not quite the blue that we've got now. However, there's things in the pipeline for a new blue. He'll say to me now, not another blue, we've got so many blues. So it developed from there, and then I started to work with him, going out, visiting the factories. Initially we bought lots of different products in, we were like testing the water, but my thing has always been that there's a core group of fabrics that you can work with, that you know that you're always going to sell: denim, leather, cotton, linen, knitwear, and faux fur in the winter. And I think that you can base the whole collection on those fabrics.
Yeah.
So that was really what we started to do, trying to kind of look at the different categories and bring things in. But he was great, he just used to let me get on with it. Essentially, it's a quick to market brand. It's sort of 2 to 3 months and the product is turned around. Yeah. I mean, although having said that, we are planning for spring 25 now. And I've got a factory visit in a few weeks' time. I've come back. I've got loads of things. I've got, you know, colours that I want, and lots of pictures, lots of ideas. I'm asking for things to be sampled, so when we get out there we can look at them. So yeah, watch this space, because it is exciting, because it kind of gives us our own brand.
Yeah. And
people synonymise Amazing Woman with Gemini now.
Definitely, yeah.
You know, and so yeah, it's dare I say it, it's like having your own brand without the risks.
Yeah. And finally, I just wanted to ask if you could give 2 to 3 pieces of advice for entrepreneurs, people who are in a position where they want to do what you're doing, but they don't know where to start. What would you say?
make a plan. Think about, if you're thinking about opening a store, do your research on where you want to open that store. Even sit on a chair and count the amount of people that go by. Set up some kind of online presence at the same time as two things together. I mean, some people now are setting up online and then opening a store, or do pop-ups. It depends on exclusivity. Think about the brands that you want to sell. Make a hit list of those brands. Whatever you do to start with brands, you will change. That will evolve. If you're working with agencies tend to move their brands all the time. So you might find something that you absolutely love, and then 2 seasons later they may not have it. So you've got to think of your style. Are you going to appeal to bohemian customers? Are you going to be classic? Are you going to be high price point? So think about all of those things and create a plan. I think the other thing is, don't underestimate an analysis. So when you've opened that store, planned everything, you've done your beautiful shop fit, you've got everything done, your packaging, everything's laid out beautifully, and you're starting to get those customers come through the door. Don't underestimate the KPIs that you can get from those things. You will very quickly learn what your best-selling price points are, what your best-selling items are, what your best-selling brands are, what your sell-through, and just keep looking at that and feeding the things that are making the business work for you. You can be very tempted to go and get distracted with all the fluffy stuff, and you need that, because that's, it's the cherry, but that's what brings people in. But for me, underlyingly, it's making sure that you've got all those numbers. But the other side of it is, people ask me a lot about online, because obviously we've been going for a long time and we're seen to be a successful mid-market online, and a leading mid-market online, being the biggest stockist of quite a few of our brands, or in the top tier of stockists. Do you need a website? Or do you just need to create a social presence and start to sell slowly, like using your lives, your Facebook lives? I'm a bit of a hypocrite, because I know I should do them, but I don't like to.
This is our start, guys.
So yes, because it does work. And I know lots of people that did so well with it in COVID, and then when their stores reopened, they subsided, and so that side of the business being the main part of the business has now become the secondary part. But if you want to build an online presence, then you've got to keep it going. And there's quite a lot of fashion businesses out there that are very, very successful through their store. They're driving footfall into their store, and that's their key area of business. That's what they want. They want their store to be the key area. As I said, with ours, we've always looked at it as two very although it's all operated through the same business, it's two very separate businesses. And we look at them and target them very separately. But yes, so store, do your homework, do your plan, do your costings, do your analysis. Don't forget about the KPIs, because those little numbers make a massive difference. And online, how much do you need to invest? Because I will say, with online, it's very labour intensive, and there's a lot of work that needs to be done.
So what's next for Gemma? So what is your...
Well, the biggest thing that we've got in the next 12 months is our 40th birthday. I mean,
this time next year.
So we opened on the 7th of June 1985, and the 7th of June 2025 is on a Saturday. So it's kind of the perfect end to the week. So yes, we're kind of planning a big year for 2025. Already talking to different people about trying to get some PR, thinking about what we can do to just give everybody in the business a bit of a boost. Possibly we might enter some industry awards next year, because it would be a great year to enter them. More of what we do, because I think we do it really well. And then just constantly I work on an evolving 5-year plan. Where will we be in 5 years? Because I can tell you, it constantly changes. Your 5-year plan, you adapt it every year. You do look at it and you do adapt it. For me personally, I always say the money side of things doesn't really bother me. It's obviously you need a certain amount of money to live, because I love doing what I do so much.
Yeah.
But what if there was one thing that I could have for myself, it would be more time. I'd just like to be able to, you know, get up in the morning and just think I could do exactly what I want to do today, you know. So that would be my biggest thing. You know, spend more time with my family.
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.